So I'm presenting my bachelor thesis that I did at Leiden University. And the title seems pretty complicated probably and very fancy, but what I'm actually trying to convey to you is how, so we talked about music, we talked about social cognition, but what my question is that we always notice at raves, at rituals, that there's this very important component that comes with synchronization. And what people have noticed in the past, that is that being in synchrony with someone, be it like with music or without music, influences how we view the person and also increases how we cooperate with them. So my question is why humans synchronize, and in particular, what properties of synchrony influence this increase in cooperation. So first of all, there are many different explanations. So it has been shown that behavior in synchronized behavior influences neurochemistry and is perceived as pleasurable. And in particular, we seek synchronization in a social setting because that has been proven to be more pleasurable. And there's some evolutionary hypotheses that are more functionalistic, but I want to focus on a mechanistic explanation that focuses on the brain principle, which is that we enjoy when we can predict something with more ease. So we always aim to decrease prediction error. And the synchronization is sort of an interesting phenomenon from this. What really explains it very nicely, how our sort of inclination to seek opportunities where we can have easy prediction, or when we can decrease prediction error, and how that leads to increased cooperation, is self-other blurring or self-other merging. So to very quickly describe this mechanism to you, so we usually use prediction error as a distinction between me and the rest of the world. So because I can predict how I'm going to react, I will, and that actually also happens, I know that this is me, and other people produce actions that I cannot predict. And this is how we distinguish the self and the other. And what happens with synchronization is that what we see becomes the same as what we do. And in that sense, the distinction between me and the other is sort of blurred. And what this means from an evolutionary perspective is that because we always aim to benefit ourselves for the survival, this inclination to benefit myself sort of transfers to the rest of the people that synchronize with me. And this might be one of the principles that increase cooperation. So what, again, the main question is, what is it about this synchronization that increases self-other blurring and that therefore increases cooperation? Was the main focus of my study. So I predicted that synchrony will increase cooperative attitude change. And usually studies that I've met that have studied something similar either chose subjective measures of synchrony or objective measures of synchrony. So how I perceive synchrony, how together I feel with the person, or actual synchrony, which could be just matching the two signals and how in sync they are. And only one study actually employed both of the measures, but it was in a non-social setting. So to my knowledge, my study was the first one that actually included both measures of synchrony in the same sample and in the same experiment. So perceived synchrony is pretty much an established contributor to cooperative attitude change, whereas actual synchrony is not such an established contributor because it sometimes depends on the situation, whether synchronization is easy enough and that would be in temporally stable conditions. And I will show you in a moment what those are. And this is also why I included face condition as a variable that I studied as well. And what these conditions are. So we know two stable types of synchrony, in phase and anti-phase. And you can imagine that the black lines are the beat, and then the blue lines are either following the beat, which would be in phase synchronization, and then anti-phase would be sort of going against the beat, and that's anti-phase. Anti-phase synchronization. And I can't see you right now, but I will give you an opportunity, if you can hear me, to sort of try this out yourself. So try for a bit to follow the beat and then switch it up and try to go against the beat. This would be then anti-phase. Yeah, so you can kind of imagine, how this is. I hope you got the feeling of it. And yeah, so I predicted that this would actually play a big role because previous studies found something similar, but also because if at higher tempos, anti-phase synchronization becomes very difficult. And therefore also we have less attention that we can devote to the social cues and the other person, and we also don't really perceive how well we did. So in this sense, the conditions, whether it was anti-phase or in phase, could influence the attention to partner, the ease of prediction, and also then play a role in cooperative attitude change. So another thing is, as I said, then people are not always able to pay attention to the person they are synchronizing with, but that might actually be crucial. And previous studies have shown that similarity, so how similar we perceive the other person to be, as well as how much we like them, usually act as mediators when it comes to interpersonal synchronization and cooperative attitude change, but to a different degree, because affiliation is some sort of a conscious evaluation of how much I like the person that I'm synchronizing with. And that usually depends on how much we can trust the cues, whereas similarity is more of an automatic process that does not really depend on how much we can trust the cues. So in the sense that because my study was a computer experiment, there is not a lot of cues that we can trust. We are seeing a video on the screen, and therefore it's very difficult to assess how much you can trust your evaluations of this person. Therefore, I predicted that affiliation will not predict cooperative attitude change, but similarity would, and would therefore be a significant mediator. And I tested this by fitting several linear mixed models with a participant and video person, so the person in the video as random effects, and trait empathy and familiarity as covariates, because trait empathy is basically about prediction, and therefore influences how well we are able to predict the pattern and how well we are able to synchronize, whereas familiarity with a video person also can influence also how well we can synchronize, how well we can predict their behavior, but also how likely we are to cooperate with them. And therefore, these two could act as confounders, and they were hence controlled for in this experiment. So cooperative attitude change was measured by asking the participants a question: how likely are you to pick this person to work together on something? Similarity was measured by the question: do you think you have something in common? And then affiliation was measured by: do you think this person is likable, sympathetic? So the procedure was like this. First, trait empathy was measured, and tapper ratings were taken before and after the dyadic tapping experiment. And I'll quickly demonstrate what the tapping task actually was. So there were 30-second videos half of them were in-phase tapping, half of them were anti-phase tapping. We had 12 different people on the videos, and 12 different samples that were different in emotional valence, so negative, positive, or neutral, and also different in tempos, sometimes very slow, sometimes very fast. Here's an example of a video. Yeah, you can hear the sound. So this is what participants would be looking at. This is a slow version. And then this is, for example, a faster version. Right, so I'll try to move quickly because I don't have much time. But yeah, then we measured the response on the keyboard. So they were tapping with the beat while looking at the video. And the signal was a measure of actual synchrony, whereas a measure of perceived synchrony was measured by a questionnaire after the tapping trials. So to skim through the results, perceived synchrony was found to be a significant predictor, whereas actual synchrony was not. Yeah, this might be due to the fact that there were variations in how much participants managed to stay in sync because of the different difficulties of the tasks, but perceived synchrony indeed influenced how much their attitude changed with regards to cooperation. Whereas the mediation, we can see that actual synchrony also did not act as a mediator, whereas perceived synchrony did. So this means that when tapping was in phase, so with the beat and not against the beat, participants perceived the interaction as higher in synchrony, and therefore also cooperated more. But this mediation was partial, so there was also a direct effect of the phase condition. But actual synchrony did not act as mediator. And whereas for the second mediation, surprisingly, both similarity and affiliation changes from before tapping to after tapping were both significant mediators, even if the effect was quite slight. So apparently how much you perceive to have been in sync with the person affects how much you change in their similarity and affiliation ratings, which in turn influences the changes in cooperative attitudes. So this is a sort of an overview of the model. And what we can see is that it's really crucial. The crucial aspect is the perception. So yes, phase condition influences how well we can cooperate, how well we can synchronize, but most importantly, it also influences how we perceive the synchrony to be. And if we and the effect of perceived synchrony on cooperative attitude change is partially carried out by the perceptions of the person during the interaction. So I would like to conclude with this important thought that interpersonal synchrony is a nonverbal tool for creating connection and empathy, and it's equally accessible to all because of the universality of the human ability and propensity to produce synchronized movements. And there's a lot to go on from here. This particular study found that perception is crucial, but this opens many new questions. For example, what guides the perception of synchrony during the interaction? How important are context and intention in forming the attitudes towards the person? And lastly, is there a bias for social cues, considering that cooperation and synchronization in the evolutionary history are very tied together and both important. There's a lot to go on from here. And thank you for your attention. The QR code, if you want to go through the literature. Is an open science framework page where you can also see the analysis and the data set if you're interested, but also feel free to email me whenever. Yeah, so that's it from me. Thank you for your attention. Yeah.